Hey guys, Tim with Little Crow Gunworks. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're out on the range with our 6x45, our poor man's PPC, and we're going to be testing, shooting our initial ladder tests with the Berger 87 grain VLD. If you remember from the last video, we decided to go with, or to test out LT30, VihtaVuori N130 and N133. They're all using Lapua virgin brass and a CCI 450 primer. I got the target all set up. It's hot, 86 degrees, 44% humidity. I think I got everything squared away the way I want it. I'm going to shoot this all in one long relay. So I loaded up extra with each. I did not take these out and calibrate the powder. I just loaded up extra on the low side and the high side. So I'm going to start on the low side and see where we're at for velocity. I did write down a stop point for each powder. Where according to GRT I'm at 65,000 psi, so I know what velocity that is regardless of what charge weight it takes to get there. What else? All the bullets are seated to the same depth. Only difference is the powder. So I got 20 shots of each powder. I don't know that I'm going to be able to shoot all 20. I'm going to be looking for pressure signs, and as I encroach that max velocity I might stop early, so I don't know if I'm going to get all 20 shots with each one. I think I'm going to shoot the lowest charge weight of each one and just make sure that my point of impact location is close enough to the dot that I don't have to worry about the shots working their way off the cardboard. And if I shoot one of each shot and everything's good, I'm just going to round robin test back and forth like that. Shoot one of LT30, one of N130, one of 133, and then shoot the second of 133, second, third, and so on until I decide to stop with each powder. So I think I'm going to take you guys down range and put the camera down there and just capture all the shots, because I think these are going to shoot relatively small and it might be hard for me to know where each shot was hitting without camera footage. So I'll take you guys down there for that. Maybe I'll shoot one shot of each and then take you down there, and then keep the camera down there for all the shooting footage, and then come back and we'll see which powder shot the best, shot the smallest aggregate, and seem to behave the most, and then we'll know which one to pursue further. So I think we'll get started here, shoot one of each of the first shot, get her going. That was uneventful. The bullet's right at the top edge of the half-inch orange dot I'm shooting at. Velocity was very low, which I expected. Grass looks perfect, of course. Nice round edges on the primer. Very uneventful. First velocity was 27.24. Again, 87 grain VLD. I'm thinking this powder is going to top out around 28.90. We're at 27.24, so we got a long way to go. But that's okay. I'd rather start low like that than too high. I'll do the first shot at N130. .2840 on that one, almost the same point of impact location. This powder, I think my stop point was 29.50. This is already a little bit on the high side. I think it's okay though. This one we might be stopping quite a bit earlier than the others. N133. And very uneventful. Average point of impact location for all three powders is almost identical, which they're all in the same kind of burn rate class of bench rest powder, so that's not really that surprising. Brass looks fine. Like it formed nicely and no issues whatsoever. Velocity was 28.23. This one, our ceiling is similar. 29.60 is my stop point. We got 140 feet a second to go. So I'm debating, because these shots are so close to my point of aim, I'm almost debating moving it up a minute or something, just to get it away from the dot, so it doesn't, you know, so the subsequent shots don't end up obscuring my aim point, and making it hard for me to aim in the same place. So I think I might do that. I think I might just go up 1 inch or 1 MOA and try to get the shots away from the dot a little bit, which will kind of obscure my data a little bit on the first shot, but we can theoretically say, okay, if we move those up an inch, should be right here relative to the others. But I think that's a safer bet, so I get a good average point of aim. All right, well, I'm going to take you guys down range and put the camera down there so I can see where each shot is hitting. And then, like I say, once I stop with each one, we'll come back and kind of review the data and see where we land, which powder we're going to pursue further. All right, so you see the groups that are in the upper right and lower right corners are, I mentioned in the last little short video that I did. Came out with this rifle and I had just scrubbed the heck out of it. It's got about 900 rounds in the barrel, and I had to take some fouling shots. So those two groups that you see there, they're both the same load, but the upper right one is my old lot of powder, and the lower right is a new lot. And they're both 7-shot groups. The top one was a .469. That bottom one looks a little bigger than that, maybe in the low 6s, something like that. So these things just shoot unbelievable. So I have high hopes for our ladder test here with our Berger 87 grain VLD. But I'm gonna head back to the gun, shoot all the shots, and then we'll check in and see where we land. Alright, just came down to check the camera, make sure that's still running, and it is. So far, N130 is clearly the standout, which is good, because that's what I thought would shoot the best and what I was hoping to use. But I figured I'd test it up against these other two anyway, just to make sure. And so far, it's like N130 is by far the standout, then LT30, and N133. We'll see, we have 8 shots fired, so there's 7 in that cluster. And that cluster is just over a ½ inch, about 9/16 for 7 shots, all different charge weights. So pretty ridiculous. But haven't pressured out with any of the powders yet, so we'll keep chugging along and see where we top out. Alright guys, teachable moment here. If you guys have been watching our stuff for any amount of time, you know that why I'm doing these ladder tests. But what I've said many times over in different videos is that, in my experience, guns will shoot best and most consistently between like 50,000 psi and 65,000 psi. Well, with N130, here's our teachable moment. See that last shot jumped way off by itself? That was overpressure. So that's what I've seen in my experience. The last few shots for N130, if you remember, I said our stop point was 2950. Well, those last 3 shots were 2959, 2950. So I shot 2959. I thought, well, brass looks fine, I'll give it one more, and it went down to 2950. So then I was like, 2 shots at or over what I said my stop point was. Do I shoot another one? Do I not? I thought, well, maybe I'll shoot another one and see if we get a teachable moment. And we did. So it was, the last 3 shots were 2959, 2950, and then it jumped up to 2972 and jumped way off by itself. And over my lifetime of shooting, I see that most of the time. When you get up around that, what theoretically should be, you know, I don't have a way to measure pressure exactly, but according to Gordon's reloading tool, it was over 65,000 psi and jumped way off by itself. So those of you that are running over max pressure, you're going against what the gun wants and what the gun's telling you. And you know, if I fire the next shot and it hit in that same place way off by itself, that's never going to be as consistent as if you pick something that's in that main cluster. So I just want to talk about that since it was punctual, since we just had that one shot jump off by itself. I think I'm pressured out on N133 and N130, and I think I'm going to get 2 more out of LT30, and then I'm going to be pressured out on that too. So we'll see what happens there, and then bring the target back and measure up our aggregates. And N130 still clearly the standout, but LT30 is not looking too bad either. So and if you remember our last 3 shots last 4 on N130, maybe it was last 3, I think were these 2 up here by themselves. There might be 2 in that hole and 1 there, and then 1 out here. So these are the last 4 shots. These 3 kind of went off by themselves and then jumped way out here. So there might be a good spot up here near the top, and then there's certainly good spots down here in the rest of the pressure range, but we see that one obviously just way too hot. So we got a couple more to shoot with LT30, and then we'll measure them up and see what we got. Well, boys, I got all the data together, and this rifle is absolutely ridiculous. We have 2 really good contenders, LT30 and N130. Both shot amazing. So I did end up being able to go a little bit higher with the LT30, so there's 14 shots total there. And what I did was take the first shot, and if I measured up 1.047, which is 1 MOA, that's where it would have been. So I marked that with Sharpie. This one would have been in that hole, so I couldn't mark it. And then this one would have been right here. So I included those shots, just measured them up and marked them. And we'll run through this here quick. So LT30, we had 14 shots on the board, measuring 1.100 inches, so just barely over an MOA for 14 shots. The velocity band we covered was 2724 to 2916, and the best 11 shots were .560, which is this cluster right here. Now, I don't believe those were sequential. I'm going to have to go back and watch the footage to see which shots these 2 were. I'm not sure, but still very happy combination there. N130, which in my mind is the winner, had 12 shots in total, including our flyer that was over pressure, totaling 1.250 inches, including this one, after we move this one up here. Our velocity band we covered was 2840 to 2972. Best 11 shots were 623, which would be this whole cluster here. I think at some point these 2 jumped out. I think this might have been like 8, 9, or 9, 10, and then 11 went back in here somewhere, and then 12 went out here. So the first 8 was basically this cluster that's all overlapping. So that, to me, that's showing the most promise. LT30 is very similar. I have way more of N130, so that's what I'm going to pursue. And then N133, I have the most of powder-wise, but it shot the worst. So, which is weird because like an actual PPC, this is the powder that everybody uses, but our 6x45 poor man's PPC case is smaller, so it's logical that it would want a little bit faster burn rate powder. And then this LT30 is the fastest burn rate out of the 3, and N133 is the slowest, borderline a little too slow for this cartridge. But that one had 12 shots. Grand aggregate was 1.180, which was right in the middle. Velocity band we covered was 2823 to 2967. I said 2960 was our stop point. We had 2 shots over 2960, so that's where I decided to stop. because that shot the worst, so I'm not going to be pursuing that anyway. I didn't feel there was any value to keep going. Best 11 shots, .992, which was basically we would eliminate that one and then just measure these 11. Still sub MOA, but for obviously for what this rifle is capable of, it was the worst one. And then I did measure these two groups with our 70 grain TNT load and range pickup brass. And this was the first group I shot from a clean barrel. Was a .469 with the old lot of powder, and shot 7 shots with the new lot. Didn't make any difference. That was a .475. So the group's a little bit different shape, but they're basically the same size. So didn't make any difference whatsoever. Average point of impact location is the same. So that's a good way to test, you know, from lot to lot, is load up the same thing, shoot them on the same day under the same conditions, and see if changing powder lots makes any difference. In this case, it did not. So I think that's about it. As you guys can see, this combination shoots absolutely freaking ridiculous. I'll just give you the specs on the rifle quick. So this one happens to be a Savage Model 10 Action that I built this on. This is my personal high volume prairie dog rifle. And again, MDT XRS chassis. We got our little Crow Gunworks XRS bag rider on there, very helpful. We got MDT 10 round Gen 2 223 polymer magazines. Happen to have it hooked up to an Accutech FCG2 bipod. We got a Excalibur 28-inch 9-twist barrel with 6-groove rifling, and that's a straight taper, just inch 220 straight with a 11-degree target crown. No threading on the muzzle. This thing weighs like almost 20 pounds, so there's no recoil anyway. Doesn't really need a muzzle device. If you want to put one on there, that's fine, but it doesn't really need it. And then we got one of our test optics on there, Athlon Cronus in MOA, 4.5 to 29 by 56. So that's it. Just got a high-end optic on it, but other than that, it's a pretty economy-minded custom rifle. I'm gonna go back to the house and watch the video and see where my sequential shots were. I'll probably share that information on the next video, but I think the next video we'll do a more well, actually I think what we're gonna do is process the brass a little bit. We're gonna anneal the brass, which we recommend, especially if it's a Wildcat, because you are expanding the neck like 20 thousandths before you even fire it, which does work hard in the brass quite a bit. So this is an instance where we do recommend annealing. So we'll show you our annealing mandrels on that next video, and then and how to do that. So you can anneal brass at a very low cost. And then I think I'm going to pull these bullets that I didn't shoot, and I think I'm going to load up a more extensive ladder test with N130, maybe 3 to 5 shot groups, covering the whole pressure range that it seemed to be happy in, and see how we shake out there. And I'll probably do the same style of video, take you guys along for the ride, shoot it at the range, and then we'll go over the results then. But anyway, hell of a day at the range. It's hot out here. I'm gonna go find, it's 88 degrees and I'm sweating like a dog, so I'm gonna go find some air conditioning and pound some cold water. But anyways, like, subscribe, share with your buddies, all that. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.